Hello everybody, it's Chef Deme again. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today I bring you another Redstone Special. Circuits to help you be better at redstoning. Today we're going to go over several circuits that I use in a lot of my builds, and these should help you get a better understanding of how redstone works. So we're going to start off here with some T flip-flops. So what we have going on here is a very compact, very simple T flip-flop that is pretty reliable, but sometimes an item will shoot off to one side or the other, so it's most reliable with some walls. So we're going to show you how it works. We got an item inside of a dropper, which goes into another dropper, which goes into a hopper, and a comparator right here to get an output. When you press the button, the item is moved into there. Let's step back so we don't pick up the item. Press it again, the item comes out, drops into the hopper, and it's back in the bottom. Now that's where the unreliability happens. I noticed that out of every 100 times you use it, maybe 5 or 6 times, the item will completely fall to one side or the other and miss the hopper. If you're too close to it when it goes off, you might pick it up, so forth and so on, and it can really mess up the build. So we have this over here, a much more reliable for the open space. Just takes one more dropper facing inward to the bottom of here, and the hopper is moved up top with the comparator output coming out of this one. The big difference between the two is this requires an input on the top, and this requires an input on the bottom. But it functions in pretty much the exact same way. Because of the way redstone circuits work, the item is shot up from this, then the redstone signal from the button reaches the top one, launching it into here and dropping it down to here. Then the next time you press it, this drops into here, and these two have already fired, giving you a comparator output. Now, this is a good T flip-flop if you only have one space to work in of height. And that's why it's even in here, is because sometimes your builds require it. It's always good to have more than one way to do something. That way, so you can, modify for your space. So with this one, it has to be activated by the pulse of a extended piston with a observer on it. Otherwise, it messes up the circuit. The pulse is the only thing fast enough. Suppose you could do something to change the pulse if you know what you're doing there, but this just seems to be the easiest way to do it. As you see, the signal will go through only here, moving only the one that is in the solid block range. The redstone block gives your signal out, and that is all there is to it. It's very simple. Now here we have some simple signal inverters. And what these do is they change an on signal to an off signal. As simple as that. These are important for various builds because as far as these other circuits go, you may want to invert signals, so forth and so on. Over here we have some AND gates going on. You have to have both switches flipped in order to have any action happen at all. So this means a signal has to come in from two directions in order to have the signal change. It's very simplistic. Over here we have another way of doing it that is a little bit wider and helps in, knowing these different ways like this helps in your builds. You'll see as you're going along that sometimes you'll have to space your blocks apart because you don't want this circuit interacting with another circuit, so forth and so on, or you'll have a piece of glass, something that doesn't transfer. So here we have the NOT tower. And the way that a NOT gate works, that's what it is, NOT gate, sorry I called it NOT tower, is a signal is transferred straight up through blocks using torches. Very little delay, turns on and off. So you can choose to have the end be on or the end be off, so forth and so on. Now here is the reverse of that going down. It is just a solid block with a piece of redstone dust on top of it and a torch in the front, and then you just go staggering down, 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 and that will continue to invert your signal to bring a signal to the bottom. Now over here we have another form of gate. This one is an OR gate that requires one or the other, but not both to be activated. It's very simplistic right here. You have the signal comes in and these comparators on subtract get just as strong a signal coming in this way as they do here from there, and the same here. So if one is flipped, a weaker signal makes it all the way to the end here, so this doesn't subtract this signal from here. But if they're both flipped, they both have the same thing, and vice versa in the other direction. Now over here we have a much more I guess you'd say old school version of that, in which you have the signal going on from these torches. Now, so long these two torches are off, and so long as they are, one, both, one. As you see, it's a very smooth operation. Now here we're going to show you a little bit of a redstone clock, and this has multiple output areas, and that's why I place these lights. As you see right here, this light will always be, will always be on, at least at the slowest point in the clock. This power up right here goes into there, but if we reduce the time of the clock, it gives you different times of outputs at different points. Very beautiful, elegant design, multiple ways out. Over here we have a torch burnout for getting a certain number of pulses out. A torch burnout clock, they say. So it only goes for a short while and it's pulsing. Eventually you hear that. That is the torch burning out. It goes so fast the torch can't stay lit. Over here we have another form of clock. Or no, this is a randomizer, my bad. And what we have here is a dispenser. It's got into it a single stackable item and a non-stackable item. The non-stackable item will send out a pulse strong enough to turn on this light, but the redstone dust itself, or the stackable item, will not. This right here is just a single item back and forth, and we have this same circuit locking the two at the same time. Now as this happens, you will see that this does not follow any form of pattern. It is completely random. You can increase the randomization of going, because this is at a what would be considered a 50% chance, or like flipping a coin. You can increase it though by adding various things. If you add not stackable items into here that are different, say, than like you have a redstone dust, you'd have a light, you have over here, so forth and so on, that increases your odds. The more non-stackable items have, the higher the odds of getting an on signal there are. Really good for odds machines, which I make a lot of odds machines. So over here we have a simple pulse extender. You have your comparators going up like this into redstone, which come back like this. You have these repeaters to keep the signal from overlapping or turning into a clock, and it turns a button into a much longer pulse than it originally had. It's also technically a form of clock. Over here we have a hopper clock, a very simple device which, if you connect the signal in from one side to a T flip-flop and have this signal double out and redo the T flip-flop when it's done, it will allow itself to automatically shut off, so forth and so on. There's so many things you can do with this. But this is just simply an item inside of a hopper, items inside of a hopper, should I say. The more you put in there, the longer the clock, and they're taking a signal off of these comparators. And it will continue to go back and forth as long as there are items in there until you add a signal to one side or the other, turning it into the off or the on position permanently. Now, over here we have some more ways of moving redstone signals around. The piston signal extender, or at least that's what I call it. I'm not sure what everyone else calls it. But you have slime blocks coming down into a redstone block, which then goes into another piston, which then goes into more slime blocks, so forth and so on. And this can be as long as render distance. Once you get below the simulation distance, I mean, not render, it'll stop working right because you won't be able to extend the pistons and things will lag out and break. But here we have sending a signal from all the way up there to the ground, no problem. And it's just a single solid fluid motion, very little delay. Once again, this allows you to wrap around your redstone in order to have the signal reach where you want it to at odd angles. It's a very brilliant design right there. I love these myself. Now over here we have the final thing. Now a lot of people don't use this. I've never seen anyone else use this, to be honest, but this is how you turn a lever into a button. That's right, into a button. Flick it down. You have a delay on this repeater right here, which goes into this. This will lock it. The second you release the power onto it, it sends a pulse. Ain't that cool? Well, thanks for watching this video. If you really liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and maybe consider joining my sub club. My Discord will have a link in the description for you to join. There'll be a world download for you to come goof around with these circuits yourself. I have a realm that you can put an application in for joining, so forth and so on. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Chef Dime, and this has been a Chef's Creation.